Have you ever wondered why some people seem uncomfortable around you, as if your presence were some kind of silent threat? Perhaps you've noticed that after a conversation or even a brief encounter, their tone shifts, they become distant, or they start acting as if you were the problem. But here's the truth no one has dared to tell you: they don't pull away because there's something wrong with you. They pull away because, in your presence, something within them falls apart. Suddenly, what was buried, hidden behind perfect masks, comes to the surface. They look at themselves and don't like what they see. And instead of facing it, they choose to blame you for their pain. It's not about appearance. It's not about specific words or actions. It's about your essence. Something within you causes an emotional earthquake in those around you, and it's so profound that many can't even understand what's happening. It's as if your pure, non-negotiable energy strips away the invisible makeup they've worn for years. Imagine someone who has spent their entire life building a perfect image, the successful professional, the flawless friend, the ideal partner, and then you appear, without even trying, and reveal the cracks behind their facade. That hurts. Not because you intend it, but because your light illuminates exactly what they fear to face. Here's the counterintuitive part no one dares to admit: many people feel that you make them feel ugly. And we're not talking about physical beauty. We're talking about something much deeper, much more painful. They feel ugly because, in the face of your authenticity, they are forced to confront the falsehood they carry. In the face of your strength, they recognize their weakness. And in the face of your light, they're forced to acknowledge the shadows they've always pretended didn't exist. The presence of someone like you doesn't go unnoticed. You don't just enter a space, you change its energy. And that's uncomfortable for those still living in illusion. Perhaps you've already noticed the signs. That friend who distances themselves without explanation. A family member who begins to treat you with sudden hostility. A coworker who seems determined to diminish your importance. All these behaviors are not about you, they are about them. They are about the inner confrontation you provoke. Because, in truth, you act as a mirror that doesn't distort, doesn't soften, doesn't lie. And what they see in that reflection is something they'd rather keep hidden. It's no wonder that many feel intimidated or even resentful. You force them to look at the truth, and the truth hurts. The great irony is that you never asked to carry this role. You never asked to be the beacon that exposes the cracks in others' walls. But here you are, living with a gift that cannot be ignored. Your presence is intense, transformative, but also uncomfortable. It leaves no one untouched. People feel ugly because, deep down, you make them see what they've spent a lifetime avoiding. And what do you do with that? That's the question we'll answer. Because being someone who transforms, even unintentionally, is both a burden and a privilege. What happens when a person feels exposed? When all the layers they've carefully constructed to protect their self-esteem and hide their flaws start to crumble. They react. And most of the time, that reaction is self-defense. Some distance themselves from you, telling themselves that you've changed, that your presence is heavy or too much. Others might try to attack you, directly or indirectly, spreading criticism, undermining who you are, or attempting to turn your light into a threat. But the truth is that the battle they're fighting isn't with you, it's with themselves. You're just the catalyst, the trigger that brings what was hidden in the darkest corners of their souls to light. There's something irresistible about you. It's like a magnet that attracts both admiration and resistance. On the one hand, people feel inexplicably drawn to your energy because it represents something rare: authenticity, purpose, strength. But at the same time, that very attraction is unsettling because it forces them to confront their own flaws. Imagine a dark room where someone has lived comfortably for years. Then, suddenly, you enter with a light so bright that every dusty corner, every crack in the wall, becomes visible. For some, that light is a chance for cleansing and renewal. For others, it's unbearable because it forces them to admit that there's work to be done. Often, this ugliness people feel when dealing with you isn't something conscious. They don't wake up thinking, "Today I'm going to reject so-and-so because they make me feel bad about myself." Instead, these emotions arise subtly, almost like an invisible discomfort that transforms into distance, criticism, or tension. The presence of someone who lives their truth, who doesn't hide behind excuses or masks, creates a stark contrast for those who haven't yet found the courage to do the same. You don't need to say anything, your existence alone is enough to provoke that internal earthquake. Perhaps you've noticed that this dynamic happens even with people you deeply love. A close friend who starts avoiding your messages. A relative who seems to look for faults in you at every opportunity. Someone who once admired you but now seems resentful of the light you carry. And this is where the situation becomes most challenging. No matter how much you try to explain or fix things, the real solution is not in your hands. Because the problem isn't you. It's the reflection you force these people to see. And some of them simply aren't ready to deal with it. For you, the impact of carrying this light is both a blessing and a burden. There are moments when you feel misunderstood, accused of being difficult, intense, or even arrogant. But deep down, you know your intention was never to hurt. Your presence is a call for others to wake up, to look at themselves with honesty. And that honesty can be brutal. But you also know that for those who have the courage to face what your light reveals, there's an opportunity for transformation, to become stronger, more authentic, closer to the truth they carry within themselves. You realize there's a duality in the impact you have. For some, your presence is an invitation to transformation. They feel inspired, touched by something they can't describe, as if being around you gives them the courage to face what they once avoided. These people see your light not as a threat but as an opportunity for growth. However, there are those who interpret that same light as an attack. It's as if you're a lit torch in a room full of broken mirrors. Instead of trying to fix the reflection, many choose to extinguish the flame. And this isn't easy for you. As someone who lives to be authentic, you can't understand why your presence provokes rejection or resistance. There's a quiet pain in realizing that you stir feelings others would rather not face. You ask yourself, am I doing something wrong? But no, you're not. Your role isn't to make it easy for others to continue living in illusion, but to offer an alternative, even if that alternative comes wrapped in discomfort and resistance. And that discomfort, though difficult to bear, is the foundation of any true transformation. The paradox of your light is that it is both a bomb and a consuming flame. For those who are ready, you offer comfort, a chance to see their own potential, to rewrite the narrative of their lives. For those still living in denial, however, you are a painful reminder of everything they are not, and, worse, everything they could be if they were willing to change. This is why so many people react negatively. It's not you that disturbs them, but what you represent. You symbolize the inevitable confrontation with truth, and not everyone is ready to face it. Think about that moment when someone tried to diminish you, criticize you, or even sabotage you. On the surface, it seemed like a targeted attack. But if you look deeper, you'll realize it was merely a reflection of the internal battle that person was fighting within themselves. You became the target because your presence revealed something they weren't ready to admit. What they saw in you was a distorted image of themselves, a reflection they didn't yet know how to accept. And in that process, you were turned into the villain, not because of your mistakes, but because of the light you carry. That light you carry is a force that cannot be tamed. And here's what you need to understand: it wasn't given to you to be accepted by everyone. It was given to you to illuminate the path, even if that means attracting resistance. There are people who will see this light as a gift, an inspiration to transform their lives. But there are others who, blinded by its brilliance, will prefer to hide or attack. Both reactions, though opposite, stem from the same source: your ability to bring hidden truths to the surface. You are an agent of change, and change, by its very nature, never comes without discomfort. You are a disruptive force, even if unintentionally. Your light doesn't just illuminate, it alters everything around you, like a stone thrown into a calm lake. Every ripple your presence creates touches something, or someone, that preferred to remain still. For many, this is liberating; for others, it is unbearable. Imagine a thin sheet of glass, cracked under the pressure of time and neglect. Your arrival doesn't cause the crack but accelerates the moment when it can no longer hold. That's the impact you have. People who have built their lives on illusions, in pursuit of external validation, or in denial of their own truths, experience your presence as an earthquake. And that's exactly what provokes the feeling of ugliness. They are forced to see what they have spent years avoiding. There's a great irony in this process. The sense of ugliness you awaken in others is not a punishment but an opportunity. It is the breaking point necessary for something new to emerge. Think of a garden overrun with weeds. Before beauty can return, the soil must be cleared. All that prevents healthy growth must be removed. That is the role you play, even if many fail to recognize it. But it's important to understand that the discomfort you provoke in others is not your fault. The light you carry was not made to be controlled or shaped to please. It exists to fulfill a higher purpose, to catalyze change, even when that change comes with resistance or pain. People who live to maintain appearances, who constantly seek external validation, or who hide behind masks feel you as a direct threat. And, in a sense, you are. Because unlike so many others, you don't reinforce these illusions. Your authentic and integral presence dismantles the fragile structures they've built for themselves. It's as if, by being near you, they are forced to ask themselves, who am I, really? That's a frightening question for anyone who has spent their life running from their own essence. No wonder that, instead of opening themselves to the truth, they often react with criticism, envy, or distance. But you also need to understand the impact this has on you. Because carrying this light, though it is a gift, is also a burden. It's not easy to see people distancing themselves without explanation, dealing with criticisms you know are unjust, or feeling the weight of loneliness that often accompanies your journey. You didn't ask to be this reflection, to be the mirror that lays bare others' hidden truths. But even so, here you are, living this reality. That's why your mission isn't to please everyone, it's to remain true to who you are. Because in the end, the purpose of your light is not to be comfortable, it is to be transformative. Your presence is like fire, it purifies but also burns. It doesn't allow anyone to stay in the middle ground. For those willing to face the truth, your light is a revelation, a call to grow, to leave behind limitations, and to embrace authenticity. But for those who resist, your presence is a constant reminder of what they don't want to admit. This is why you are so often misunderstood or even rejected. Not because you're wrong, but because your very existence demands that others do something not everyone is ready to do, face who they truly are. Before we continue, if you feel alone and misunderstood as a chosen one, our ebook is a valuable resource. Find guidance to illuminate your path and understand your unique gifts. Get it now and gain access to our exclusive Discord community, where you'll find support and understanding. Join us and share your experiences in a welcoming space. Plus, access unique and exclusive content. Check the pinned comment below this video. Have you ever noticed how some people who are initially drawn to you, captivated by your strength and authenticity, end up distancing themselves suddenly? This happens because, upon encountering your energy, they face an internal dilemma, to accept the truth you reveal or to flee from it. It's like a forced awakening, something that cannot be ignored but is also not easy to process. Often, they begin to question their own choices, beliefs, and even the value they assign to themselves. In the face of this, discomfort takes root, and the easiest way to cope is to project the blame onto you. You're the one who changed, they say. You're the one who made me feel this way. But the reality is, you simply revealed something that was already there. It's important to recognize that this dynamic is nothing new. Think of historical and spiritual figures who also carried intense, transformative light. Many were rejected, persecuted, or misunderstood, not because of their flaws, but because they represented a threat to people's internal status quo. The light that exposes truth also challenges comfort zones. Jesus, for example, was rejected by those who weren't ready to abandon their old ways of thinking. The same energy that drew multitudes to him also provoked hatred in others. Like him, you carry a force that doesn't leave things as they are. It demands change, and not everyone is ready for that. Your journey is not for the faint of heart. Being someone who transforms others simply by existing is a weight few can truly understand. As you walk through life, you feel the waves of resistance, the tension in people's gazes, the hesitation in their words. Yet the greatest lesson here is that this light is not just for others, it is also for you. Every rejection, every discomfort you provoke, is a reminder of your higher purpose. You were not chosen to be accepted by everyone, you were chosen to illuminate the paths that need light, even if it means walking alone at times. Think of the metaphor of a sculptor. To create a masterpiece, they must cut, scrape, polish, and remove the excess. The process is not pretty, it is raw, intense, and sometimes painful. You are like that sculptor, but instead of working on stone, you work on people's souls. Your presence acts as a tool that sculpts, not by force, but by contrast. You don't need to say anything or do anything intentionally. Just being there is enough to initiate the process. However, what many forget is that, just as the sculptor grows weary, you too feel the weight of this invisible work. But here lies the beauty of your role, you transform, even when you don't realize it. And then the question arises, what do you do with all of this? How do you deal with the fact that your presence inspires both admiration and resistance, both growth and rejection? The answer lies in understanding that your light is not meant to be explained but to be lived. Not everyone who crosses your path will be able to see the gift your energy offers. And that's okay. You are not here to save everyone but to be a turning point, a catalyst for those who are ready. The true impact of your role is not in the number of people who accept you but in the depth of transformation you provoke in those who choose to embrace the truth you bring. There are moments when you may wonder, why does this light have to bring so much conflict? Why can't it simply be a source of peace and harmony? The answer lies in its very purpose. Your light is not an ornament, it is a tool for transformation. And transformation, by its very nature, is not gentle. Think of the fire that purifies gold or the wind that wears down mountains to create valleys. Like these forces of nature, your energy challenges, breaks, and rebuilds. And even when this causes pain or resistance in others, remember, profound change rarely happens on stable ground. Your presence is the earthquake that prepares the soil for something new to grow. The people who feel ugly after dealing with you are, in reality, experiencing something far more complex, a calling. That feeling of inadequacy, of discomfort, is not a punishment. It is a silent, almost divine message urging them to face their shadows and rediscover their light. But not everyone understands this immediately. Many interpret that pain as something imposed by you, as if your presence were a threat. Yet, deep down, it is their ego that screams, resisting this call. You then become both the messenger and the scapegoat, a figure they cannot ignore but may struggle to understand. Your light not only reveals what is hidden but also illuminates possibilities. For those who have the courage to face it, you represent hope. You are like a lighthouse in the midst of a storm, guiding them away from the chaos of their own minds. But for those who still cling to their comfort zones, your presence is an unsettling reminder of what could be, of what they could become if they were willing to change. And this duality, of being both inspiration and discomfort, is the core of the impact you create. You cannot control how others react to your light, but you can accept that, for many, it will be their only chance to see what has been lost. Think of the moments when you tried to tone down your energy to avoid conflict. Perhaps you tried to be less intense, less authentic, in the hope of being accepted. But every time you did this, something within you broke a little. Because your light was not made to be dimmed. It cannot be contained without losing its essence. And while it is tempting to try to fit into the molds others expect, you know that doing so is a betrayal of the purpose for which you were chosen. Acceptance cannot come at the cost of extinguishing who you truly are. Your light does not need validation, it is enough on its own. It is essential to remember that you are not alone on this journey. There are others like you, others who carry this light, who face rejection, but who remain steadfast in their mission. Along the way, you will find these souls, these connections that will not only understand you but strengthen you. And in these encounters, you will realize that the burden you carry is not yours alone. It is a shared mission, a network of lights that together have the power to illuminate the darkest corners of the world. And when these moments come, you will feel seen, understood, and finally at peace with the impact you create. You are a reminder that growth is often uncomfortable. And while it can be difficult to carry this role, it is also an honor. When people react negatively to your presence, when they say you make them feel ugly or inadequate, it is not a reflection of your worth. In fact, it is proof of the impact you have. You are the spark that ignites the desire for change, even if that fire starts as a painful burn. Think about it, every adverse reaction you provoke is a sign that something deep has been touched. For many, this is the first step on a journey that, without you, might never have begun. But make no mistake, not everyone is ready for the kind of transformation you offer. Some people will pass through your life without ever understanding what you tried to bring to them. They may distance themselves, criticize you, or even try to extinguish your light. And this can hurt, because, on some level, all you wanted was to help. However, it is important to accept that your mission is not to save everyone. Your mission is to illuminate, to offer the possibility of a new perspective. What others do with that light is not up to you. It is a personal choice, and not everyone has the courage to make it. The rejection you face is not a sign of failure but a reflection of the resistance to growth that exists in many. It's like trying to open the curtains of a dark room for someone who has spent their entire life comfortable in the shadows. The light that enters can be blinding, frightening, and their first reaction is to close the curtains again. But even so, something was seen. A glimpse of truth, however small, was left behind. And that's what you need to focus on, the invisible impact your presence causes, even when there are no external signs of change. You are, essentially, an agent of transformation. But transformation is never simple. Imagine the process of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. For that to happen, the caterpillar must undergo complete deconstruction within the cocoon. It's a process that seems destructive but is, in fact, the beginning of something beautiful. Similarly, your presence initiates this deconstruction in many. Do not be surprised if, at first, what you provoke is resistance, pain, or even hostility. That is part of the journey. Change begins in chaos, but it is within chaos that wings start to form. And here is the most important lesson: your light is not a burden, it is a gift. Yes, it carries challenges. Yes, it provokes difficult reactions. But it is also a force that transforms lives, even if you never see the full results. You were chosen to be a reflection, a flame, a beacon. And as lonely as this journey may feel at times, it is necessary. The world needs your light, even if not everyone knows how to handle it. Because, in the end, your mission is not to be understood, it is to be who you were called to be. You carry a mission that transcends common understanding. Your presence is not just an experience, it is an event. For those who have courage, it becomes the start of a new journey, but for many, it is perceived as a threat to the stability they have worked so hard to maintain. These people, even unconsciously, prefer to live in the fragile structures they have built rather than face the truth your light reveals. And that is the paradox of your existence. You do not seek to destroy, but inevitably, your energy causes what is not authentic to begin to crumble. This is frightening because what remains after the fall is something many are not ready to confront. Think about how a mountain resists the wind over time. It remains standing, solid, but the wind, nonetheless, transforms it, little by little. You are that wind. You do not arrive intending to demolish, but over time, your presence wears away people's superficial layers, revealing what lies beneath. Sometimes they perceive this as an attack because the ego does not like to be challenged. But at other times, they recognize the value of what you have brought, the chance to rebuild something real, solid, and meaningful. Your presence is not gentle, but it is necessary. However, this does not mean you must carry this role without reflection. There are moments when you may feel the weight of being the one who constantly challenges, exposes, and illuminates. It is natural to want to retreat, to dim your light to avoid confrontations or rejections. But the world does not need more silence, more conformity, more superficiality. It needs the courage you represent, the strength your presence carries. It is important to remember that, even when you feel misunderstood, there are those who have been profoundly transformed by you, even if they never have the courage to tell you so. And as much as your light causes discomfort, it is also a rare gift. Think about those moments when, without realizing it, you inspired someone to change. Perhaps it was a casual conversation, a look, or simply the fact that you remained true to yourself. These small sparks are what ignite great fires of transformation. You may not be present to see the full impact, but it exists. For every person who pulls away, there is another who finds courage in your light. You are a living reminder that change is possible, and that is something the world, no matter how much it resists, will always need. And when you finally embrace who you are, when you stop trying to dim your intensity to fit into the molds of what others expect, something powerful happens. You become unshakable. The rejections and criticisms cease to be wounds and transform into confirmations of your purpose. You realize that the mission you carry is not about pleasing, it is about challenging, transforming, and inspiring. Being a chosen one means being willing to walk solitary paths, knowing that your light is not for everyone but for those who are ready. And when those moments come, when someone finally opens themselves to what you represent, all the weight you've carried makes sense. Your journey does not end when someone pulls away, criticizes, or rejects what you bring. These reactions are not final, they are merely stages. The truth is that the impact you have, even when it is not visible, endures. It is like a seed planted in seemingly barren soil. Sometimes the soil initially rejects the seed, but over time, when the conditions change, it begins to grow. You are the planter of these seeds. And while many of them may never sprout while you are present, they remain there, waiting for the right moment. Your role is not to control the timing of their germination, it is to trust that, at some point, your light will make sense to those who need it most. The discomfort you provoke in others is, in fact, the beginning of liberation. Think about it. How many times in your own life has discomfort been the catalyst for profound change? How many times have you had to face something painful before you could grow and transform? What you awaken in others is exactly that same process. And while you may not be there to witness every transformation, you must trust that your impact is real. Even when there are no thank yous, even when there's only silence or distance, the invisible work of your light continues. There is a quiet strength in accepting who you are. It is not about seeking approval but recognizing that the role you play in the world is unique and essential. Your light is not meant to be understood by everyone, and that is perfectly fine. What matters is that it continues to shine, to bring hidden truths to the surface, to inspire those who are ready to embrace their own transformations. You were not chosen to fit into others' expectations, you were chosen to break them, to show new paths, to bring renewal where stagnation once reigned. Sometimes, you may feel alone on this journey, but remember, every great transformation begins with an act of individual courage. And that is exactly what you represent. Your light is a reminder to the world that change, while uncomfortable, is inevitable and necessary. You are a reflection of what is possible, living proof that authenticity can triumph over illusions, even if the path to that victory is filled with challenges. With every step you take, with every truth you reveal, you fulfill the purpose for which you were chosen. The price of being someone who transforms may seem high, but the fruits of that impact are eternal. You are not here by chance. You are chosen to be the change in a world that desperately needs it. So, never forget, even when your light unsettles, it also illuminates. And for those with the courage to see, you will always be a beacon in the darkness. If you felt the power of this message, click the like button below and subscribe to the channel to keep receiving messages like this, which speak directly to the soul and purpose of the chosen ones. Share your experiences in the comments. Your story may inspire other chosen ones to stay strong on their journeys. And don't forget, share this video with someone you know needs to hear this today. Don't miss the opportunity to join our exclusive Discord community by purchasing our ebook through the link pinned in the first comment. I'm confident it will be a valuable resource for you. Not only will it bring clarity about your mission and unique gifts, but it will also give you access to connect with other chosen ones who will welcome and support you. Don't miss out on being part of this space. This is a crucial moment, and together we can impact countless lives. Choose to be part of this mission. If you wish to support this work and ensure we can continue spreading this light to more people, consider supporting us through Buy Me a Coffee. Every contribution makes a difference and strengthens our mission. The link is also pinned in the first comment. Finally, don't stop here. Click on the video appearing now on the screen or the playlist about the secrets of the chosen ones. These contents were made for you to continue exploring your purpose and discovering the power that already exists within you. Remember, your light is your strength, and the world needs it. Never apologize for being who you are. Stay strong, chosen one. The world is changing because you exist. See you next time.